Hi, welcome to this webinar, second one of the day on furlough leave and the scheme. And the next steps as we're coming up to the point where employers have to make decisions about what they're going to do as the furlough scheme comes to an end, either at the end of June or if it's extended after that extension. And in this session, we're going to look at alternatives to redundancy, because unfortunately, employers are going to have to look at redundancies. Certainly an awful lot of employers are. But there are other options, and the purpose of this webinar is to cover very quickly some of the alternatives that you may want to reflect upon as part of your planning or as part of your redundancy consultations. I'll get a few slides up for you. Here we go. As I say, we're looking here at the alternatives to a redundancy situation, and there may be any number of them depending on your business circumstances, and it may be that you need to amalgamate a few of these. But here are just on a very high level basis some of the things to reflect upon. Now, the first one, and the obvious one, is to look for volunteers for redundancy. If you've got people who are unhappy, you may have some people who are planning on retiring in the non too distant future, and they may look to volunteer, either because you offer an enhanced voluntary package, or simply because they want to move on for their own reasons. And obviously, someone who elects to be made redundant has very little recourse then subsequently to bring proceedings at the employment tribunal. So that's a positive potential option. To try and sweeten the packet, you may decide to offer an enhanced package. If you are going to offer an enhanced package, you would want to do that by way of a settlement agreement. So that's a legally binding contract under which the employee waives their right to sue you at the employment tribunal in return for an enhanced redundancy package. So that's well worth looking at if that's something you're interested in. We then look at maybe changing terms and conditions. So the most obvious one would be working hours. You could look at a cut in working hours, either on a temporary or a permanent basis. Perhaps a job share arrangement might work. It's better to have 2.5, 3 days worth of work from the employee's perspective than to have no work at all. And we're even seeing situations where employees are simply accepting a flat pay cut, carry on working their full hours, but will accept a cut in pay. Obviously, there are elements to bear in mind here, things like national minimum wage, but if the employee is agreeable to that, normally on condition that it only lasts for a certain period of time, but that may well be worth looking at as well, because ultimately in the current circumstances, employees have very little other option and very little choices, very few choices, sorry. It's not a normal case where simply you as a business owner have made some mistakes and found yourselves in trouble and they can go and work for competitors. The jobs just aren't out there at the moment. So options that might otherwise seem impossible, or normally seem impossible, may be open to. So it's well worth having a look at that. You may then also want to look at alternative roles. Just because you're making redundancies in one area of your business doesn't necessarily mean that you are not recruiting or creating opportunities in other areas. And if they've got transferable skills, do you move them over? Now, one of the other options in any redundancy consultation, if you get that far, is this issue of bumping. You may be aware of the phraseology that a redundancy is the role that is made redundant, it is not the person. Normally that's a bit of a sop to make the employee feel a little bit better. But actually from a legal perspective, that's true. So you could look to rejig your staffing and move staff around and say, take employee A out and replace them with employee B and make employee A redundant. It doesn't necessarily reduce the number of redundancies, but it does potentially allow you to keep staff that you want, and maybe then employee A can move on to another role within the business that is more suited to them. And of course, you have the Furlough scheme itself. It's due to end at the end of June, and signs are that it's likely to continue after that. And we're hearing stories that there'll be a sort of a phased end to it, where employees can do a bit of part-time work for you. We don't know whether that will come to fruition, but it would certainly be a sensible step from the government's perspective. But we wait and see. But whilst you have the scheme available to you, pop your employees into it, and again, you look to save redundancies. There are, of course, a whole raft of ways you can try to avoid redundancies. Lots of options available to you. So please do reflect on that, because redundancies do come at a cost, both the cash perspective, but also the hit to morale. So it's well worth exploring further. And if you want to do so, you see my details on the screen. Please do not hesitate to get in touch, and we'd love to help you through this if we can. So thank you very much.